diversity that we cherish, that is the hallmark of the American people. So we hope this is an invitation that will have a reciprocate, positive response, and we look forward to hearing back from the Republican Party. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Osama. Our next speaker is Mr. Naeem Beg. He is with the Islamic Circle of North America, Council for Social Justice.
Thank you. On behalf of Islamic Circle of North America, Council for Social Justice, I would like to thank CAIR and other members of the Muslim community and Muslim leadership for standing here today in solidarity in supporting the ad that appeared today in Washington Times on behalf of CAIR and other Muslim organizations. As my other fellow brothers and leaders from the Muslim community pointed out, that there was a time when in the first election of George W. Bush, where American Muslim community, a good majority of the American Muslim community supported George W. Bush in his first election. And it was because of his stand against racial profiling and against any kinds of bigotry and hate. But what we have seen over the years, that that message disappeared and the message of hate appeared, and most importantly, coming from the most respected podiums and from the presidential debates, where when these bigoted comments were made by these those who were wishing to seek the highest position in our country, and the majority of the audience clapped on these bigoted comments. So that is a sign which is alienating not just the Muslim community, but also the other minorities in America. And as a result of that, Nihad mentioned few names of Allen West and them, and Joe Walsh from Illinois. They were defeated because minorities stood together and decided that people who pass these bigoted, racist, hateful comments are not going to represent them in the best houses of our Congress. So in saying that, I stand by with other Muslim organizations in requesting the Republican Party, the party that is known to be of the Lincoln, the party which stood in support of the minorities against and in favor of justice and equality, that we look forward to meeting and sitting together with the Republican Party and the leadership of the Republican Party and seeing where it went wrong and how they can correct these measures. And I thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naeem. Our next speaker is Mr. Khalil Meek. He is the National Executive Director of the Muslim Legal Fund of America.
On behalf of the Muslim Legal Fund of America, it's a privilege to be here in solidarity with all the other respected organizations and leadership, and especially CAIR for taking this initiative to reach out to the Republican Party and ask them to reassess their platform, reassess their engagement with the Muslim community. As an organization that helps Muslims face legal challenges, we see that the politics or the rhetoric of fear, the rhetoric of Islamophobia has severe consequences in our communities. When people get radicalized against the minority, things are not positive. So today we're calling on everybody to stay with the foundations and the principles of this country, of inclusion, the politics of reaching out and having each and every one of us participate in that process as equals, but with respect and dignity to everyone engaged. So I just wanted to thank you for having an opportunity to show our support, and we ask that this is something that the Republican Party considers and has a positive response to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khalil. Our next speaker is Imam Warithdeen Mohammed II. He is the president of the Mosque CAIRs.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Warithdeen Mohammed, the son of the late leader Imam Warithdeen Mohammed, who passed in 2008, about 4 years earlier. And he was the son of the late leader and founder of the movement called the Nation of Islam. So I have a history. My father was born a Muslim, and he taught Islam, lived Islam as a Muslim, and established his family. And he was the one that broke away from the movement that his father helped build, which was more of a social reform movement, and brought us into mainstream Islam. So my whole life, although I was 45 now, I can say that, I was born during the time of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but I was a young man, and my father, though he kept us away from the Nation of Islam and their ideology, mainly me, I had 2 older sisters at the time. I didn't get too much exposure to that language, but he had friends, immigrant Muslim friends from different parts of the world, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, many different parts of the world. And I got to know people of Arab descent and Asian descent, pretty much the way many of us grow up side by side other immigrant Muslims and immigrant people of different faiths and religions and nationalities in our neighborhoods and in many of the cities across the U.S. So when I see the pattern of discrimination and bigotry in the language in places where they don't belong, in politics and in positions of leadership, can't help but to reflect on the damage that it does to families and to innocent minds, and where it leads to self-destructive lives. I always reflect to a known statement that's constantly given to us in our community to remind us that the family is the root of civilization. And when you break down, when you isolate families and make it difficult for them to establish themselves through bigotry and not joining them into the larger issue, we should keep our focus. It's my belief that we should keep our focus on the bigger issue, which is our human identity. And that is what has helped us as a nation to progress to the point where we are, to where the leader in social issues. We've so far ahead of most of the world that we're looked at as the role model and example for dealing with social issues, but still we have this ugly bigotry and this ugly, immature type of behavior, and it's not a fair way to deal with politics. And we want to grow alongside and with America as families. I know the brothers that are here with us, we're not political-driven, motivated people, as most Americans are. Most American families, at heart, they're family people and community people. And this is what Islam hopes to establish, is to be an asset to the broader community of citizens of this United States. And as you know, many of you may or may not know that my father, Imam W.D. Muhammad, was one to pioneer interfaith dialogue and communications, and he was extremely successful in his work. And also, he was one of the first African Americans towards the end of the civil rights movement to embrace the American flag and our citizenship. And you know, this had been fed to me as a child, the importance of citizenship here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Imam. And as our final speaker, Mr. Osama Abu Ershaid. He is with American Muslims for Palestine.
On behalf of the American Muslims for Palestine, I would like to thank CAIR for taking this initiative, not only on behalf of the American Muslim community, but on behalf of America, to combat the forces of intolerance and bigotry in this country. And while we think that the groups of intolerance and bigotry in this country might indeed represent a tiny minority in this country, yet we think that their rhetoric and their actions threatens all of the values that we stand for as an American people, the values of respect, justice, and equality for all. Also, I think the Republican Party needs to take a lesson from the previous elections, the last elections, that showed clearly that the Republican Party is increasingly getting out of touch with the new realities on the ground in this country, the social realities and the cultural reality in this country. The Republican Party now is being dominated by forces that reject the other, that reject minorities, whether being minorities in terms of religion or in terms of ethnicities. And the Republican Party needs to reassess its position and its stance for the sake of America, not for the sake of a political party or another, but for the sake of this country and for the sake of the spirit of this country. And we think that the Muslim community today represent the conscience maybe of America that proves if America is standing with its values or not. And we think that the American people are a people of conscience, and that the American people are standing with the values that are enshrined by our Constitution, and we think that such ideology of hatred will be rejected by all the American people. Thank you.
Learn more at CAIR.com.